Hello and welcome back to another video. I'm Zelp, and today I'm going to continue what we're doing in the past few days. It's feeling more like a status update more than an actual full video, because these things are a little bit more confusing, and also I really want your feedback. I feel like we are sort of like heading the right way. I don't think it has ever been done before yet, so hopefully we are going to explore a new aspect of, figuring out how much better status effects is going to be for our Warframe. So in this video, I'm explaining this equation, which I created after hours of thinking, and it's really very similar to this one. It's just that instead of a long list of numbers, I turn that list into an equation, and then based off those equations, make certain things to interact and give you your final outcome. So this is the final outcome. You can see that if I were to change this to, let's say, a 50% viral chance, I will actually get the exact same results as this one over here that we have talked about in the last video. So in case you want to build your own, I could actually explain how this thing works. And then after that, in the last video, I did mention that there is a flaw in this thing. And also I'm going to talk a little bit about what I plan to do to try and overcome that flaw. First off, I color coded them to make it easier for you guys to understand. You can see that the pink one is somewhat repeating. So what does the pink one actually represents is that if you remember this particular spreadsheet, you can actually see that over here it increased all the way to, before it does 425 damage, the damage increase in total is going to be 28 times more of its original. And to be honest, right now, just looking at the base and looking at the final damage output, you can just straight tell me there's an extra 28. But in maths, you can't just do that because there might be different factors that's involving. So you kind of have to shrink this into an equation and then solve it. Now, in case you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll try and explain. So at first you do 100 damage, then after that you plus, because your next attack, when it procs viral, is going to do 100 times 2, because it has an extra 100% viral damage. Then the third attack is going to be 100% times 2.25, because it increased that 2 times now to 2 by an extra 25%. So you get this one. And then after that it becomes 100 times 2.5, because it increased by another 25%, and then plus another 100 times 2.75 plus 100 times 3, and so on and so forth. It goes on until it gets to plus 100 times 4.25, and that's where it ends. But the 4.25 part is actually taken into account in a different calculation already out there. So we are actually going to stop at when it times 4. So this is the whole equation that we kind of need to simplify. And what we realize is that there's 100 in every single part that we plus. So we can pull that 100 out. And what will happen is that we have 100 and then bracket plus 1 plus 2 plus 2.5 plus 2.25 plus 2.5 plus, and what you get is that, if you close this bracket, you put an equal here and you highlight this part, you can see that it gives you 28. So by simplifying this long equation, this chain of equation, you actually get your 28. So therefore, what did I do that for? When it starts proccing every single time after every hit, you actually do your base damage times a 28. So 28 is like the special number. Okay, so this part, the orange one, is really this part. So right after you have 10 procs, and we know that it's gonna do 28 times the original damage, then after that every single hit is going to do 425% damage. So therefore depending on how long your amount is, or the amount that requires for it to proc 10 times. This is the orange part, the calculation for the orange part. I feel like I'm not gonna explain too deep to it. Today's video is actually gonna be relatively short. I'm just gonna explain and give you the theory, because I feel like even though this equation works, it's only very specific for certain comparison, and I might actually want to make a new equation for something else. So this is that part. This part is where if you extend even more, so for example, if I have 0.5, right, status chance, so at this point, yes, already proc is 10 strikes. So this point here is going to be the orange one, and this is the one that we are calculating for the blue one. So this is the blue one. Okay, then it minus off this part. Now there are two ways to find average. You can just add them both and then divide by 2. That is one way to do it, and I decided to go a different direction over here so that I can check my previous answer as well from this spreadsheet. So to be honest, this one is a little bit harder, but I did it because I want to do a double checking as well. So what happened here is that I minus off the lower part. This is harder to explain than I thought. So let's say you have 50 and you have 30, right? And obviously the middle is going to be 40. So how are you going to get 40? You have two ways. The easiest way is you take 50 plus 30 and then you divide by, you need to put a bracket here, but and then you divide it by 2, and that will give you 40. The other way of doing it is really to take 50 minus 30, which is really exactly the same thing. Again, you need to put the bracket and and then after that you divide that answer by 2, and then you add back the 30, the lower half. Okay, and that will also give you 40. And I'm pretty much doing this way over here, but you can definitely change it just a little bit to go and become this one way easier. The reason why I'm doing this is really for double checking. I'm just too lazy to change it because I don't think I'm going to be using this long equation for the next part of the video and also for the final outcome. So this one is actually good for comparing between, let's say, 20% versus 50% viral kind of thing that I did before, but it's not good when it comes to comparing with other multipliers, and we'll talk about why that is really soon. Okay, so so this part is the later part, which is this part. Okay, so if I were to try and color code it with this, it's going to be like, oopsie, my bad. It's going to be like, this is there, and then this is here, and then this part is the blue one. Okay, I'll just put this, maybe. Is it too blue? Whatever. Okay, so then, yeah. And then after that, it minus off the lower half. So the lower one is going to be the point where it proc, but it's the worst case scenario. So this is where there is no viral included. Okay, no viral included. If you look over here, no viral included will be this part, the purple one. And then after that, we get the pink one, which is the part where it procs, the 2800, which is the pink one over here. So let's just put that color in so that you could see it. And then after that is actually the blue one. So let's take this, color it up. Okay, so that is what you'll get, and that's why you have this one, and then you have the pink one, and then you have the blue one. So what you do next, you divide it by 2, and then you plus with the lower half. So that means this green, this whole green is really from here all the way here. It's the exact same equation, and then the whole thing is actually measured in damage. So it's like a super high number in total damage, and what you want to do is you want to finally divide it by the total amount of hits. So in this case, you have 50 hits, so you divide by 50 and you will get this value. All done in maths, calculated with this long equation, which can be shortened. And if I shorten into this equation, I should be able to further shorten it as well if I want to. The only problem is if I further shorten, it's going to be really hard to explain, because things like, like this value and this value is same. You can pull it out and we can kind of make it shorter. But then when I try to explain, it's going to be chaotic. So I left it this way so that I can explain it to you guys. Hopefully you know and you understand. Now let's talk about the flaws, and let's talk about how we can improve this, and how I still need more time to think about what to do to improve it. So one of the flaws is that, like I said in yesterday's video, we have to take, when we compare between two status, the one that needs the minimum amount of hits to get 10 procs. So if you're 20%, you need a minimum of 50 hits, because if you go anything below 50, this equation does not work anymore. So for 50%, the lowest amount is actually 20. So in 20 hits, you can actually get your, what do you call, in just 20 hits, you should be able to get 10 hits, because 50% out of 20 is 10. So therefore, this value is somewhat like the middle of this this total damage that you could do, the average. And you can see that this middle and this middle is very close. It's within the 270, 260s. And you'll find that for most cases, even if I put like, I don't know, something easy to calculate, let me see, I say 25, so this one will be 40. You'll see that they all kind of go around between like 26.5 to 70-ish. So now the problem is that if you want to use this to compare with a different multiplier, when all the values that you put into this equation, you're going to get a similar value, which is around 200 and an extra 166, for example, then you're not going to be able to compare or make much conclusion, because the number of hits is not in control. So putting in the number of hits is something that is really tough to do right now, at least for me, which means that we might actually need to make a table of, like, let's say here, number of hits, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then goes down. And then after that, we're gonna see the amount of damage done for each different percentage. So like 5% status, 10% status, 20% status, so on. And then based on the table, you can actually see like, oh, if you have how many percent status, on the 5th hit, you would have done how much extra multiplier. And I think that might actually be the case for status. We actually need to come up with a table where you look through. So long story short, we're not going to use this equation in our future uses. I'm going to have to try and come up with a different way of doing it, but it's not completely useless. You can still use this to compare with different percentage of status of the same status, and the theory behind it and the idea behind it, some of the core stuff is still going to be reused for the new equation. I just haven't thought about it yet. Now it's true that I can take my time, fix everything, and then present it and make a video, but I am trying to upload daily. So again, it's more like a status update at the moment, where I'm just sharing with you what I have in my mind so far, and if you have any input that could help me, feel free to leave it down in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully I would have an answer by then. Thank you very much. Bye bye.